Okay, so think about this for a second. You look at some creature, right? Maybe something swimming in the deep ocean or, I don't know, creeping through a forest.
Uh-huh.
And it's been doing that for literally millions of years. And well, it looks almost exactly like its ancient ancestors.
Yeah, practically identical.
Barely changed a scale, a feather, maybe a leaf. What if some parts of life right here just seem, well, unevolved?
It is a provocative thought, isn't it?
Yeah. It feels like it challenges everything we think we know about natural selection, the whole constant march of change idea.
It does. And it's more than just provocative. It's actually a mystery, a paradox right at the heart of evolution that even Darwin himself really wrestled with.
Darwin himself. Wow.
Oh, yeah. We usually picture evolution as this like constant engine, always pushing for something new, new forms, better adaptation.
Right. Always improving, adapting.
But what if there's a piece missing? Something, well, almost hidden or maybe just overlooked. An aspect that seems so contradictory, it actually made Darwin question his own massive theory.
Okay, so that's our starting point then. This is the deep dive today. O Dilemma de Darwin. Darwin's own dilemma.
Exactly.
Because as he was building this incredible framework, these two big puzzle pieces just wouldn't fit neatly.
No, they were like these stubborn outliers in his model of gradual, constant change.
So what were they?
Well, the first was just the sheer speed, the sort of breathtaking explosion of life during the Cambrian period.
Ah, the Cambrian explosion.
Yeah. Suddenly, geologically speaking, it's like boom.
Blink of an eye, relatively.
Exactly. Tens of millions of years, which sounds long to us, but in Earth history, it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the fossil record just lights up all these complex multicellular animals with really intricate body plans.
Seemingly out of nowhere.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Where were the precursors? Why so much diversity so fast? There's a huge question mark for him.
Okay, that's one piece. What was the other?
The other was sort of the opposite problem. The living fossils.
Ah, yes, like the coelacanth.
Precisely. The coelacanth is the classic example. A fish everyone thought died out with the dinosaurs millions of years ago
And then bam, they find one swimming around.
in the 20th century. And it looked almost identical to fossils that were, 66 million years old or more.
Incredible. Are there others?
Oh, plenty. Horseshoe crabs, they've barely changed in something like 450 million years. Think about that.
450 million. That's
Huh.
hard to even grasp.
It is. Then you have things like the goblin shark, or maybe it's the frilled shark, sometimes called snake shark, the nautilus. Organisms that have just stayed the same, morphologically speaking, for
Uh,
hundreds of millions of years.
wow. Still here, looking like their ancestors who swam when dinosaurs were around.
Right. So for Darwin, trying to build a theory based on constant gradual change, these things were a real, well, a head scratcher.
How could his system produce such incredible, long-lasting stability? It felt like a contradiction.
It did. It seemed to fly in the face of natural selection, always driving change. These were the unevolved bits that really tested his ideas.
So that's our mission today, then. We're going to look at Darwin's original insights, but, bring the science of 2025 into it.
Exactly. Use our modern understanding.
And this deep dive, it's going to explore how this modern science doesn't actually prove Darwin wrong, not at all, but it forces us to maybe rethink what we thought we knew.
To enrich the picture, definitely.
Yeah, and we'll find out that this unevolved stuff isn't a glitch. It's not evolution failing. It's actually, well, it's a really complex and fascinating part of evolution. Stability as a success story.
That's a great way to put it. Stability is a triumph. Darwin laid the foundation, an incredible foundation. We're just adding new layers, new understanding he couldn't have had access to.
Okay, let's unpack this properly. We need to get beyond that simple survival of the fittest catchphrase.
Yes, it's much more nuanced.
Darwin was absolutely a genius, no question. His work is the bedrock. But science now, in 2025, it's really expanded on his framework. It gives us a much richer picture.
It does. So think about natural selection. It doesn't always have to be pushing for something new. Sometimes it's more like quality control.
Quality control, how so?
Well, in environments that are pretty stable over long periods, selection can actively work to eliminate the extremes. Anything that deviates too much from the average successful form gets weeded out.
So it actively keeps the species clustered around the average?
Exactly. It maintains the status quo, morphologically speaking, keeps the form in equilibrium, and we call this stasis. It's evolution actively preventing significant outward change.
That It's fascinating. So it's not just that there's no pressure to change, it's that there's active pressure to stay the same.
In many cases, yes. Stability itself can be selected for.
So maybe Darwin was sort of looking for change everywhere and seeing no change felt like selection wasn't working there.
It's possible that was part of the puzzle for him. We now see stability as a very successful strategy in its own right.
Yeah.
There's actually a great recent study that illustrates this perfectly. Yeah, research on anolis lizards, published late 2023. They looked at populations over several years.
Okay. And what did they find?
They found that, say, 1 year, maybe it was drier. Selection might favor lizards with slightly longer legs. Maybe they could reach higher branches for food or something.
Makes sense.
But then, maybe the very next year, conditions change. It's wetter, maybe denser undergrowth, and suddenly, shorter legs are better for agility, for maneuvering through that dense vegetation.
Ah, okay. So the pressure flips back and forth.
Precisely. So over the long term, these fluctuating pressures, pushing one way then the other, they can effectively cancel each other out.
Right. So the net effect is stability.
Apparent stability, yes.
Yeah.
You look at the lizards year after year, decade after decade, and their average leg length might not really change much at all. It looks like stagnation.
But wait, you said apparent stability. What's happening underneath?
Ah, well, that's the kicker. Genetically, that population is constantly adapting. Genes associated with slightly longer legs might increase in frequency 1 year, genes for shorter legs the next. There's ongoing evolution at the genetic level.
Even if the outward form, the phenotype, looks stable.
Exactly. So the real insight here, maybe the Blinkist version, is that evolution isn't just about creating novelty. It's also about mastering the art of staying the same when staying the same works best.
Wow. Mastering the art of staying the same. I like that.
Selection can actively defend a successful body plan against change. Stability becomes the strategy, not just a passive accident.
That really challenges the basic assumption that evolution always means obvious, outward change. It tells us stability is an active outcome, not just nothing happening.
It broadens the picture immensely. Stability isn't passive, it's often actively maintained, shaped by the same evolutionary forces that drive change.
Okay, so selection can actively keep a form stable, but what if the way organisms are built? What if the very design process itself resists certain kinds of change?
Ah, now you're getting into the architectural rules of life.
Yeah, this takes us deeper, right, into how things are actually constructed. And this is where Evo Devo comes in, evolutionary developmental biology.
Exactly. Evo Devo has been a revolution, really. It shows us that evolution isn't working with infinite possibilities, like some cosmic tinkerer with unlimited parts.
Okay.
Organisms are built using a remarkably conserved set of genetic and developmental tools. Think of it like Lego bricks.
Legos.
You can build an incredible variety of things with Legos, castles, spaceships, cars, but you're always using the same basic bricks, the same connection system. You can't suddenly decide to build something out of, I don't know, marshmallows using Lego rules.
Right. You're constrained by the bricks you have and how they fit together.
Precisely. The tools are the genes and the developmental pathways they control. And many of these are incredibly ancient and shared across vast groups of animals.
Can you give an example? How fundamental are these tools?
Absolutely. The classic example is Hox genes.
Hox genes. I've heard of those.
They're master control genes. You find them in almost all animals, from tiny fruit flies right up to us. They basically tell the developing embryo, okay, this bit is the head end, put the legs here, the wings here, this part's the tail end. They lay out the fundamental body plan.
Wow. So they're like the architects mapping out the whole structure.
Exactly. And because they are so fundamental, so crucial for basic development, significant mutations in Hox genes are often disastrous.
Like lethal.
Very often, yes. Or they cause such severe developmental problems that the organism can't survive or reproduce. It messes up the entire blueprint way too early.
Okay, I see. So it's like trying to change the foundation of a skyscraper after it's half built. It's just not feasible.
It's a good way to think about it. This creates what we call developmental constraints. Evolution can't just try anything. It's channeled along pathways that are possible given the existing developmental system.
So some changes are easy, like changing the color of the Lego bricks, maybe?
Right, minor tweaks.
But fundamental shifts in the body plan, like giving an insect wings on its head instead of its thorax, that's incredibly difficult or impossible because the underlying Hox gene instructions are so deeply embedded and conserved.
Exactly. It makes some kinds of morphological changes much, much more likely than others. And in some cases, it severely limits the possible variations, meaning the overall body form can remain stable for incredibly long periods.
So the blueprints themselves enforce stability.
In a very real sense, yes. The very way life is built can guide, channel, and sometimes restrict change. Stability becomes an inherent property of the system, partly because messing with the core instructions is just too risky.
Okay, this is fascinating. So we've got active selection favoring stability, and we've got these built-in architectural rules, these developmental constraints making radical change difficult. Is there more?
Oh, yes. There's another layer, a more subtle one, that's really come into focus more recently. It involves epigenetics.
Epigenetics. That word comes up a lot. It sounds complicated.
It can be, but the basic idea is powerful. Epigenetics deals with changes around the DNA, not to the DNA sequence itself.
So not changing the letters, the A, T, C, G code.
Exactly, the code stays the same, but epigenetic modifications are like chemical tags or switches attached to the DNA or the proteins around it. These tags can tell genes whether to be switched on or off, or how active they should be, like dimmer switches on lights.
Okay, like annotations in the margins of the instruction manual, telling you which instructions to use and how loudly.
That's a great analogy. Dimmer switches or annotations. And here's the really interesting part. These epigenetic marks, these switches, can be influenced by the environment.
What kinds of things?
Diet, stress, exposure to toxins. Lots of environmental factors can flip these switches.
Right. And the really mind-blowing part I've heard is sometimes these changes can be passed down, inherited.
Yes. That's still an area of active research, understanding exactly how and how often it happens. But in some cases, epigenetic patterns established in a parent, perhaps due to their environment, seem to be passed down to the offspring.
Without changing the DNA sequence itself.
Correct. So the offspring inherits not just the genes, but also some information about how those genes should be used, based partly on the parent's experience.
So how does this relate to stability, to the unevolved?
Well, the idea is that epigenetics could play a crucial role in maintaining the stability of certain successful lineages. It helps ensure that the tried and tested patterns of gene expression, the ones that build a well-adapted body form, are faithfully transmitted.
So it's like an extra layer reinforcing the successful setup.
Kind of. Think of it as an epigenetic memory. It helps buffer the organism against random fluctuations or minor genetic changes that might otherwise disrupt that successful gene expression pattern.
Wow, a hidden layer of inherited information, like a cellular memory, keeping things on track, keeping them stable.
Exactly. It adds this extra layer of inertia, contributing to the stasis we see in living fossils. It's another mechanism saying, hey, this configuration works really well. Let's keep it this way.
It's like the system has its own built-in resistance to being easily changed.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It really adds another dimension beyond just the DNA sequence, a dynamic way to maintain form and function.
Okay, so let's pull these threads together. We have natural selection, sometimes actively maintaining a form.
Right. Stasis through selection.
We have the fundamental rules of development, the architecture, channeling evolution, and making big changes hard.
Developmental constraints.
And now we have epigenetics, this kind of inherited memory, potentially reinforcing successful gene activity patterns. What happens when you look at all of this together from a bigger perspective?
Well, that brings us to a systems biology view, looking at the organism not just as parts, but as a whole, complex, interconnected network.
That's system. Okay.
And from that perspective, we can talk about robustness.
Robustness. What does that mean in a biological context?
Think of it like a really well-engineered machine. Maybe a high-quality watch. It keeps accurate time, despite changes in temperature, little bumps, variations in humidity. It maintains its core function telling time, despite all sorts of minor disturbances or perturbations. That ability to withstand disturbances and keep functioning correctly is robustness.
So applied to an organism.
A robust organism is one whose biological systems, its genetic networks, its developmental pathways, can handle perturbations without falling apart or drastically changing their output.
What kind of perturbations?
Things like minor genetic mutations, fluctuations in the environment, even just random noise or errors within its own cells. A robust system can absorb these hits without significantly altering its overall form or function.
Okay. So how does this explain the living fossils?
The idea is that many of these lineages that appear unevolved might actually be examples of highly evolved robustness.
Wait, say that again. Highly evolved robustness.
Yes, their stability isn't the lack of evolution. It could be the product of evolution. Over millions of years, they may have developed incredibly resilient, finely tuned genetic and developmental networks.
So the stability itself is the evolutionary achievement.
Precisely. Far from being evolutionary failures, these organisms might represent a pinnacle of evolutionary design for stability. They have, in essence, evolved to not change easily on the outside.
They've evolved resistance to change.
Exactly. Their systems are so good at maintaining themselves, so resilient, that they can soak up minor genetic changes or environmental shifts without it affecting their overall body plan. They found a winning formula, and evolution perfected the mechanisms to maintain it.
That's wild. So these creatures hitting the evolutionary snooze button for millions of years, that was maybe an active, evolved strategy.
You could frame it that way. Think about surviving ice ages, mass extinctions, continents moving, predators coming and going,
Yeah.
and still looking pretty much the same. That takes some serious biological engineering.
It's the ultimate, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but elevated to an evolutionary art form.
Perfectly put. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it really makes you ask, what if, for some branches of life, the ultimate success isn't constant adaptation and change, but achieving this profound, enduring stability?
Yeah, it completely flips the script on the usual idea of an evolutionary race.
It does. It suggests there isn't just one way to win at evolution. Innovation is one path, steadfastness is another.
Makes you redefine what evolutionary success even means.
It certainly forces us to appreciate the diversity of strategies life uses to persist and thrive.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up then, modern science, the science of 2025, it doesn't throw Darwin out. Not even close.
No, it builds upon his genius,
Yeah.
enriches the theory profoundly.
It shows us that evolution is way more complex, more multifaceted than maybe we first thought, and that paradox Darwin saw, the unevolved puzzle.
It wasn't a flaw in his thinking. It was actually pointing towards this deeper complexity. It's an invitation to understand life's journey more fully.
Right. Evolution isn't just this relentless forward march towards novelty.
No, it's more like an intricate dance.
Yeah.
A dance between change and stability.
Adapting when needed.
But also conserving, preserving, defending forms that have proven incredibly successful and resilient over immense timescales. It's a balance.
A brilliant, complex balance. Okay, so here's a final thought for you listening out there.
Oh.
Darwin's dilemma, the thing that puzzled him. Maybe now we see it as proof of just how elegant and ingenious evolution really is. That apparent inertia, the refusal of some life forms to change much, it's not evolution stalling. It might actually be evolution at its most sophisticated.
Fine-tuned for resilience, for persistence.
Exactly. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So the next time you maybe see a picture of a horseshoe crab, or think about sharks cruising the oceans pretty much like their ancestors did millions of years ago.
Don't think they're stuck or primitive.
Right. Don't think they somehow missed the evolutionary boat. Realize you might be looking at a masterclass in enduring success. A design so good, so robust, that evolution's best strategy was to keep it running, virtually unchanged.
It's evolution, choosing not to tinker radically.
So, what does that tell us about life's ultimate strategies here on Earth? Maybe stability, that incredible endurance is just as profound a victory as constant transformation, something to think about.